Long live Rolly Romero. Tim Tszyu bled so Rolly Romero could chicken walk across the ring. So boxing returned, PBC returned, Amazon Prime, their first card, pay-per-view, and it was a banger. You had Sebastian Fundora beat Tim Tszyu with some controversy, and not really like, oh, he should have lost controversy, more like he's bleeding off the top of his head from an elbow controversy, like bam, bam. And then you had Cruz just walk and stalk down Rolly Romero like a Terminator. I mean, it was just brutally beautiful, and I loved every single second of it. It was just fantastic. I enjoyed that fight card much more than I enjoyed the UFC card, which was god-awful. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow's segment. So, yeah. Tim Tszyu, undefeated champion, looked to have a date with Bud Crawford because, Crawford's looking to do things, and like Charlo wasn't fighting, and Tim Tszyu looked like a legitimate threat. Crawford will do anything not to fight Boots Ennis, Deron Ennis. He won't fight him. I don't know why. But anyway, so early in the fight, Tim Tszyu is like, okay, the first 2 rounds, he's doing well. He's fighting. So for those who don't know, Sebastian Fundora fights at 154, but he's 6'8" with an 80-inch reach. The guy's absolutely massive. Like, I mean, look at the discrepancy in size here. Look right here, because like they don't look like the same weight class. It looks like he's fighting a light heavyweight. And I mean, obviously Sebastian Fundora is, lanky and long as can be. That said, Tim Tszyu, the first 2 rounds, handled it well. I actually thought he did fight well early on. Hand fighting was a big part of it. And he was looking for that straight, let's see, who's the southpaw? Fundora, I think, is the southpaw. So he's looking for that cross right. Tim Tszyu was. Yeah, because his left is a lead hook. He was looking for that, and like, it was working for him. So like against the Southpaw versus Orthodox matchup, that cross right down the middle absolutely worked. So you'll remember like in the Francis Ngannou fight, when he fought Anthony Joshua, that first knockdown in I think the first or second round. The first knockdown, Francis switched to Southpaw for some reason, and Josh was like, oh, check, right down the hook, and it right down the pipe, and it worked fantastically and knocked him down. Tim Tszyu was looking for the same thing here. Obviously, Sebastian Fundora with his giant reach had some advantages there. Obviously he's tall. He's 80-inch of reach, and he doesn't always use that reach very well, but in this fight he did. We'll get to that in a second here. But Tim Tszyu, early on, he was fighting well. Fighting the lead hand. He was covering up the lead hand with his. Now, he wasn't looking for the left hook like he always does. He wasn't jabbing as much as he does. And that's because he was fighting a longer, lankier southpaw. This called for different tools, and Sebastian Fundora is a unique fighter from anybody else. So, Tim Tszyu really just, he was working it well. I was like, man, this is a good game plan. I could see Tim Tszyu cruising to a victory, maybe even a knockout. Fundora's good, but I think Tszyu beats him. And then, like, Tszyu and Fundora get into this exchange in, like, the second or third round, and Fundora's elbow goes up. Now, he didn't, like, try and frame off of him with an elbow or anything. I think he had his guard up. Now, this comes from Sebastian Fundora being 6 foot, 1,000 inches, He's just a tall guy. And where Tim Tszyu can safely duck, because he ducked into this elbow. He came down, and boom, elbow hit his head. Sorry, guys. Hit his head, and he had a giant cut right here, just gushing blood down his face the whole fight. I'm sure you saw it in the thumbnail. Like, man, it was gnarly from the beginning. So this elbow, it's the third round, and the fight dramatically changes in favor of Sebastian Fundora. Tszyu just, with the blood in his hair, or in his face, he couldn't see. And when you can't see punches coming, you can't actually fight properly. And we saw exactly that. Like, Sebastian Fundora just took advantage of the situation. He fought uncharacteristically smart, and I'm going to change, like, exactly what I mean by that in a second. But Tim Tszyu, he lost. I don't know what he could have done different. Not ducking to the elbow, but, like, these things happen. The guy, he's 6 foot 8 inches tall. His elbows are at head height for Tim Tszyu. Rough night for Tim Tszyu, and he got beat. Like, it was a split decision. I was like, how? How are we doing a split decision here? Because there's no way that's possible. It's just, brother, Brother, what is that? Yeah, so Sebastian Fundora, though, he fought well. Okay, so let me pull it up real quick here. I'm going to pull up his records. I don't remember who he lost to, and I'm going to laugh at myself for not remembering. But let's see here. Sebastian Fundora's 21-1-1. Jamonthony Clark was a draw, and he lost to Brian Mendoza, 7th round knockout in his last fight. Really ballsy of him to come back just shy of a year later. Oh, it's been that long. Just shy of a year later to face a guy like Tim Tszyu, who's really a good fighter, and he's really a tough fighter. So, yeah, Fundora, he doesn't fight. He likes to not really brawl, but he likes to get a little bit more exciting than what his length and his talents should be. And I mean, all's fair. He said he likes to fight, and I get it. I don't blame you at all for wanting to actually fight. But man, like, you gotta get it in, and you gotta make sure you win these fights. And that's what lost him against Brian Mendoza. Here, he saw that Tim Tszyu's hurt. He's got a giant cut on his head. Probably can't see because he's wiping the blood out of his eyes. He probably can't see. You know what? Let's jab. And he jabbed and jabbed and jabbed. That southpaw jab really gave Tim Tszyu a lot of trouble. And it was a beautiful performance from Sebastian Fundora. I don't want to take away anything from what he did. So, like, part of winning a fight is staying safe and being able to overcome the type of adversity that you normally overcome, or that you need to overcome. In this case, for Tim Tszyu, the type of adversity he had to overcome was the fact that he had a giant gash on his head. At his fault, too. It's not Fundora's fault that he ran into the jab. So, like, what are you supposed to do in this situation for Fundora? Just lay over and die? Oh, well, this shouldn't be as fair. No, it's not. That you go in there and you go win the fight. And Sebastian Fundora went in there and won the fight. So his jab was real good. He threw a lot of 1s and 2s. He was looking for some uppercuts and stuff. And, he was really just kind of pecking away at Tim Tszyu in a way that we haven't seen before. And it was because, A, of the southpaw, even though Tszyu's fought southpaws before, but B, Sebastian Fundora fought and used his genetic gifts, something that Tim Tszyu doesn't have, an 80-inch reach. The dude's reach is like a mile long. It was a beautiful, fantastic performance. And I was like, yeah. So a lot of 1s, a lot of 2s from Fundora. His footwork was really good as usual. Tim Tszyu's footwork was good too. We got to see a lot of Tim Tszyu coming around the outside, trying to line up that right cross. There's one point where, Fundora kind of let Tszyu back into the fight. And I was like, what are we doing here? Come on. You're going to really get knocked out? Come on. But that jab really did a good job, like, finding the range and making sure Tim Tszyu couldn't get in on him. Fantastic. Great performance. I couldn't have asked more from Sebastian Fundora because, man, it's just a really good performance. I was really happy for him. And now they're talking about him versus Bud Crawford, which on paper is like, but if he fights like that, we might have a problem because Bud's a smaller guy. Bud fought at 130. Fundora's 154, so yeah, I get it. But Fundora is like the size of a light heavyweight. That's a fun fight. That's a more fun fight than Terence Crawford. Just the intangible, like the thought of Terence Crawford going in there and fighting somebody like Sebastian Fundora with an 80-inch reach who can just jab him all night. Like, we're going to have to see a different type of Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford wins that fight all day, I think. But it answers some, like, unique questions about Terence Crawford that Sebastian Fundora and only Sebastian Fundora can provide at 154. 2 belts on the line, too. That's like all Terence Crawford needs. Maybe Charlo will line up and fight him. It'd be sick. That'd be sick to see Crawford go undisputed in a 3rd weight class. Like, guys, amazing. He's amazing. So, yeah, Sebastian Fundora. Great win. I'm actually very happy for him, even though I was really pulling for Tim Tszyu because I like Tim Tszyu, and I'd like to see him get the Crawford fight. But I'll admit, to me personally, even though that Tim Tszyu's probably a better fighter, even though we're acting like Sebastian Fundora won that straight up and the head thing wasn't a thing, I like the Sebastian Fundora Terence Crawford fight. It's a weird fight, and it's like, ooh, let's see what Crawford can do with a guy with 80 inches of reach. Good fight. The co-main event. Whoa. Isaac Cruz moves up to 140, smaller guy, and he faces the king of 140, Rolly Romero. I think Rolly Romero is the biggest fraud champion, or was the biggest fraud champion in boxing. I was actually kind of wrong. Long live the king, Rolly Romero. His royalness. I was wrong at this. Actually, Rolly Romero didn't fight as bad as I thought he would. I thought he was done in that first round, though. Isaac Cruz goes in there. He's marching him down the whole time like a Terminator, just... He's throwing these wide looping punches. I'm like, what is Isaac Cruz doing? And like, he catches Romero in the first round, and Romero's doing the chicken walk. It was beautiful. But Rolly Romero started to settle in a little bit. Now, I didn't see the scorecards after the fight, but it did feel like Rolly was landing some okay punches. And then I started thinking about, like, Isaac Cruz has this high guard. He's landing on the guard. He's not doing anything to him. Whereas Isaac Cruz is like smashing the body. Boom, 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 boom. To Rolly Romero's credit, he didn't gas. I can't stand him. He's not that good of a fighter, guys. He got his belt fraudulently, and yeah, he should have fought Ryan Garcia. He could have won that fight. A lot more winnable than Isaac Cruz. Now we have like Isaac Cruz versus Subriel Matias, and I know. I talk about Subriel Matias every week because he's just one of the most fun fighters out there, and these two guys going forward and just meeting in the middle. It's gonna be a slugfest. It's gonna be a fight of the year. So yeah, Isaac Cruz, he's not very fancy as a fighter. He's not gonna go out there and put on this great performance. But what he's gonna do, he's gonna march you down with high guard. He's gonna come at you, and he's going to smash you over and over and over again until he knocks you and hurts you. And we saw it against Romero a couple times in this fight. So, like, Rolly was 3 times he was hurt. And Cruz himself, he's just marching him down this whole time. And, you know, he has 2 losses on his record, but, like, a lot of people thought he won that Tank Davis. So if you remember, Isaac Cruz was the guy who just walked down Tank Davis. It was like, whoa, wow. He's got a win over Gamboa, you know, and now Rolly Romero in 8th round TKO, which I like Isaac Cruz. He's so fun. He's not the most technical fighter by any stretch of the imagination, for sure. Like, he's like, I'm just going to walk you down. I keep saying that because, like, that's all he does. Like, I got to get some minutes out of this, right? Like, I got to talk about Isaac Cruz. He's a Terminator, man. He just comes forward. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I really did like Isaac Cruz in this one. He looked really good at 140. He's got these massive muscles on his neck, and he's just a bulldog-looking tank coming for you. Him versus Devin Haney. Not Ryan Garcia. Garcia ain't taking that fight. Him versus Devin Haney. Him versus Teofimo Lopez. Him versus Subriel Matias, like I said. Boy, that's some fights. And let's see. Let's see the champions at this weight class at 140. Let me pull them up. I think that's all of them. I think I named all of them. Let's see. Feather, light, super light. Yeah, you got Subriel Matias. You've got Turarov, Isaac Cruz. You got Haney. You got Paro, which is the WBO. And then you got Teofimo. Yeah. Isaac Cruz is going to come in and, I can see Tank coming up now. I can see that because they already fought. But Tank got some people at 135 that he needs to fight. So, yeah, good win for Isaac. I was really happy. Rolly, you know, he showed some cool things. You know, he walks out there. He was doing this thing with his glove. He was playing with his glove like it wasn't fitting right. I just think this is something that he does. He was punching against the guard, but that's all you hear him talk about. Like, the whole fight. It's weird. But a couple times he got hurt just getting clubbed the whole fight. He really did. He got clubbed the whole fight by Isaac Cruz. I'm forgetting my names here. And eventually he just succumbed to it, you know. Like, Isaac Cruz is hitting the body. And the reason he's hitting the body is because he wants you to lower his hand so he can come up top. So he goes body, top. Well, Rory didn't do bad. I mean, as much as I like to make fun of him, he went 8 rounds. Oh my gosh. But yeah, when like the couple times that he did get hurt, he was hurt 3 times in this fight, in the first round, and like in the 7th round, and then the 8th round, and all 3 times it was just kind of comical, him like falling and stumbling around, and you know, just all of that. Now we see like he beat Ismael Barroso. You know, the ref called that fight, and it was really early, and we see the consequences of that now with, you know, him having to face an actual contender. And I knew, like, as soon as he won that belt, like, oh, the hounds are going to be out after him because he's a easy payday. He gave it to Isaac Cruz. Probably the worst match. He should have gave it to Ryan Garcia like they wanted to do, but they didn't. They did not. You know, he's an orthodox fighter, and Ryan Garcia is like really good against like southpaws. And I have a feeling like Garcia priced himself out of that, or Rolly just decided some shenanigans happened to it. But it would have been cool to see Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero, not Isaac Cruz. That wouldn't be cool to see at all. But that would be a fun fight because like they're two like characters, and the build up would have been great. Like this wasn't a lot of build up to this at all. Like they were going back and forth on social, but like Ryan Garcia with his big presence and Rolly Romero with his presence would have been fireworks. So yeah, that would have been a great fight to see, and I wish I could have seen it. You know, Garcia, like I said, great at southpaws, but he's also okay against orthodox fighters too. So yeah, we missed an opportunity there. Rolly will get another shot at something one day, but I don't think it's Ryan Garcia.